Well, our movement is quite broad, and I would say also quite diverse. And there is this strong commitment and richness in that diversity, I would say. I mean, how broad and diverse and why is because it has to do with the history of our country. Burma is a multi-ethnic, multicultural society. And the history itself, for many decades, already put us in the situation where many ethnic groups have been fighting for self-determination, for their political equality for so long. But then if you look at those different ethnic groups or different ethnic communities fighting for this political equality, their history also varied. And their resistance or their equality movement, also the time when they start, how they start, are also varied. So you have a different groups involved at different times. Whereas you can say like those ethnic equality movements started like 40 years back, 40 years ago, depend on what ethnic groups we are talking about. If you talk about the Karen, like Karen people have been fighting for last at least 60 years ago. But then if you look at that these ethnic groups struggle being more of a confined in their own struggle in a way, until the time in 1976, those ethnic groups come together. But again, that's very confined on the border. It doesn't connect with the larger population in the country. But then, only in 1988, the time when I was involved as a student, that is the time when the whole nation, no matter what ethnic, what religion, and what class, people joined together as a country, first time ever, to fight against this military dictator, General Ne Win. So then you have another time of the struggle come into the movement. Then those of us who fled across the border and joined with those armed groups, the ethnic groups, and then you started to see some national reconciliation, I would say. Because see, like we are a country where all the groups quite segmented. There is a deep-rooted mistrust and distrust between and among the different ethnic groups or the different religious groups, particularly between the Burman majority and non-Burman smaller ethnic minorities or the larger ethnic minorities. So in that case, we have a long history of this mistrust and distrust already been deep-rooted under the successive regimes for so long. So in that case, you are having a movement that is quite diverse. But in that diversity, are we unified? Our objective, our goal, our approach, and our vision is unified. What we want to achieve is a democratic federal union, where democracy is the basic foundation, where all the ethnic peoples, no matter what religion and what ethnic, are also able to enjoy the equal rights. So in that vision, we are all unified. But if you ask me, do we have a different approach? Yes, we still do. Like inside the country, if you look at our movement, whether inside or outside the country, is led by Aung San Suu Kyi and then the other ethnic leaders in the country who are looking for the political dialogue, whereas it's supported by all the groups, whether armed or unarmed. My point is, people need a chance. And if we are given the chance, we will prove that we will exist, we will coexist very peacefully, and we will work for democracy, the democracy development peacefully. I mean, the NLD, like back in 1990, during the election time, National League for Democracy, led by Aung San Suu Kyi, won overwhelmingly. But if you look into the NLD, even though, yes, there were political parties who are ethnic-based, but the NLD itself is not an ethnic-based. I come from a mix of 3 major ethnic groups: Burman, Shan, and Mon. And when I approach to any of them, is, like if I approach to the Mon or if I approach to the Shan, I am not accepted as one of them. At the individual personal level, it is very sad for me, knowing who I am. But at the very head level, I would say, I have to really come to understand. So between my head and my heart, I have to really come to understand of this like decades-long deep suffering of the ethnic people under the successive military regimes, which is, in the eyes of the non-Burman ethnic people, are the Burman. So if you are a Karen villager living in a Karen village, you have a Burmese army coming and raiding your village, burn down the whole village and rape your women. In that case, yes, those soldiers are, in your eyes, are Burmans, and of course you hate the Burmans. And this is something I come to really understand, both with my head and also with my heart. And therefore, I am able to react with my hand in a very understandable way, very humbly, into that situation. There are, you probably will hear some people say that it's true that successive regimes oppressed the ethnic people all along, but we didn't do it individually. It's true, I didn't do anything. But then I have to look to myself of how I lived in my whole life. Even though I come from 3 major ethnic groups, I am known as the majority Burman. My ethnic identity in Burma is Burman. And therefore, in my whole life, there were no prejudice or no discrimination or oppression against me for being a Burman. I didn't have that. In the contrary, I have to understand for the other ethnic people, that is not the case for them, you see. So I realize that when I come to know, I become responsible, even though I am not the one who commit those atrocities. I come to know and I have the responsibility to stop those atrocities against the ethnic people.